The cold dust beneath my paws was not the stoned floor of Bastet's temple. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in a world of darkness and tension. The air was thick, bitter, scratched by the smell of smoke, sweat, fear, and something deeper, older, as if the earth itself was bleeding. Screams tore through the night, sharp, ragged, mixed with the heavy clash of metal on metal. Stars flickered behind rising columns of dust. I didn't yet know where I had landed, but my body recognized before my mind did. This place stood on the edge of collapse. I moved carefully, ears low, trying to understand the chaos around me. Giant silhouettes ran through the darkness, armored shapes lit by the red glow of torches. Roman shields reflected trembling light, stained with dirt and dried blood. Each heartbeat echoed beneath my paws. Then a strange aroma hit me. Something that didn't belong to this era. Not gunpowder. That would come centuries later. It was the scent of decay, the smell of an empire cracking under its own weight. A smell of endings. And I understood. This moment was a fracture in time. The familiar vibration surged through my body, the same one I had felt in Egypt. But here, there was no sacred mystery. Only urgency, danger, death. I finally recognized where the time stream had thrown me. Adrianople, the day Rome began to die. As I crept closer to the Roman lines, I saw pale, exhausted faces. Men clutched their shields as if gripping life itself. Their eyes revealed something Romans rarely admitted: fear. A fear old as war, buried under pride, yet impossible to hide. A few noticed me, but none reacted. To them, I was merely a lost cat wandering through hell. Humans ignore what they can't understand. If they knew what I was witnessing, perhaps they would have looked at me differently. In the distance, torchlight revealed the outline of another army. The Goths, tall, rugged, pushed from their homelands by the terrifying Huns. They had come not as conquerors, but as refugees. Rome promised them safety, then offered betrayal. I watched the shape of the battlefield. Dust swirling at ankle height, spears glinting in the dark, tension thick as wet clay. Even without knowing every human word, I sensed their intentions, their fears, their doubts hidden beneath layers of iron. Aster, the observer. The cat that walks through the cracks of history without altering it. As I hid among broken shields and fallen spears, I realized this was not just another battlefield. This was the stage for the beginning of an ending. The year was 378 AD. Rome still looked powerful, but inside it was rotting. When the Goths begged for refuge inside the empire, Rome saw profit. Promises of land and food dissolved into corruption, starvation, and abuse. Desperation did the rest. The Gothic uprising wasn't an invasion. It was survival. And a starving people can be more dangerous than any disciplined army. Fritigern, their leader, understood this. Valens did not. The emperor saw pride where he should have seen caution. Valens feared the growing reputation of his nephew Gratian, who marched with reinforcements from the west. He wanted victory, alone, to be the hero, the savior of Rome. Humans and their thirst for glory, always blinding them to disaster. So Valens made a fatal choice: march to Adrianople without waiting for help. Not out of strategy, out of vanity. Vanity is the first enemy of emperors, and often the last. As I walked among thirsty, exhausted soldiers, I realized how history is built from small mistakes that grow into monsters. Valens had created one on that hill, and he didn't even know it yet. The Thracian sun punished the Romans for hours. Their armor scorched their skin, the heat clinging like a sentence. 7 hours of marching toward an enemy Valens believed was small. He was wrong, terribly wrong. The soldiers arrived feverish, trembling, hungry. Their shields felt heavier than ever. Discipline still existed, but it was cracked. And in a cracked army, any blow becomes a fracture. On the other side, the Goths waited calmly behind a wagon fortress. Simple, but effective. I perched on a broken wheel, observing. The Goths looked patient, too patient. Fritigern delayed negotiations on purpose. He needed time for his cavalry to return. Time. Always time. As a traveler through it, I could feel the moment approaching when everything would shift. Valens refused to wait, refused to listen to his generals, refused to see that heat had broken his men. He gave the order. The exhausted march became a rushed assault. I felt the ground vibrate. Not with time, but with the price of arrogance. The Romans charged the wagon wall, but their spears did not pierce victory, only resistance. Dust exploded around them like a choking cloud. I pressed myself under a fallen cart to avoid being crushed. The first collision boomed like thunder. Roman steel crashed against Gothic iron, but strength was uneven. The Romans were too tired, the Goths far too ready. For a moment, it seemed Rome might break through. But then I heard it, the rumble of hooves. My ears shot up. The Gothic cavalry had returned. They struck the Roman flank like a wild storm. I saw a soldier lifted off the ground by the force of the impact. Shields shattered. Lines collapsed. Rome's famed discipline dissolved like sand under Paul. Chaos swallowed everything. Screams, dust, blood soaking the earth. The air tasted like hot iron. I slid deeper beneath the overturned cart, watching through gaps as a world unraveled. The Romans were surrounded. 2/3 of the Eastern army fell in mere hours. This wasn't defeat. It was annihilation. Rome bled in a way it had never bled before. Valens tried to stand firm, but firmness means nothing when fear rules. He was wounded amid the chaos, and fate began to choose his end. One version says he died fighting, his body lost among thousands. Another claims he hid in a small hut, and the Goths, unaware of who was inside, set it ablaze. The emperor died, consumed by fire. Whichever is true, one thing was clear. Valens' death wasn't just the fall of a man. It was the symbolic death of the idea of Rome's invincibility. A myth breaking in real time. A chill ran through me. Not from the flames, not from the tragedy, but from understanding I was witnessing the exact moment an era cracked open. When the battle ended, the night went eerily silent. Victorious Goths shouted triumph, while surviving Romans fled into the dark. Dust settled slowly, revealing what had become of the battlefield. I walked among shattered shields, broken spears, unmoving bodies. History isn't made only in grand victories. It is also carved in the ruins of collapsing empires. In that silence, the earth seemed to absorb every memory. Adrianople changed the world. Rome's infantry, its pride for centuries, proved vulnerable against cavalry. Warfare in Europe would never be the same. The Goths didn't just win, they stayed. Never before had Rome allowed an enemy to remain within its borders. This was the seed of a downfall that would culminate a century later in the empire's collapse. And amid that devastated field, my paws tingled. The vibration returned, soft, rising, inevitable. Time was calling again. The wind shifted. Dust spiraled upward. The air grew thick and warm. I knew the feeling. Another leap was forming, but this one felt different, darker than any before. I looked back one last time. Adrianople was the portrait of human downfall. Pride, hunger, desperation, negligence. The same forces that build empires, destroy them too. The world bent around me. Shadows stretched like fingers. A distant hum vibrated not through the air, but through the fabric of time itself. The pull began, A ring of blue light opened. Not golden like Egypt, not red like torches. Something cold. Something foreboding. Perhaps a clue to the era I was being drawn toward. My body was swallowed by the distortion. The battlefield vanished beneath me. Only the echo of a wounded empire remained. I was pulled toward another critical moment in time. A turning point that would shape humanity in ways few truly understand. If you want to follow my journey, discover the secrets I witness, and walk with me across the ages, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, where do you think a cat like me landed this time? I'll see you in the next jump. Time is already calling.